Hey everybody, welcome back to the Sam Lowney YouTube channel. Today I want to talk to you about something that's been sitting in my inbox. It's a topic of conversation in WhatsApp groups. It's developers that I know that are actually doing this, and it's whether they should be ditching estate agents altogether and building their own microsite instead, selling direct, cutting out the middleman, and keeping every penny. And look, I get the appeal. I've sat on both sides of the desk. I started my career as an estate agent and I loved it. I've been the agent taking the commission and I've been the developer paying it. And now, through Merry Oaks, I sit alongside developers structuring the finance that has to make the whole scheme stack up in the first place. So I've got a fairly rounded view on this one. The good, the genuinely smart, and I think there's a bit where I think that some of the advice online is going to get someone into trouble with their lender. If you haven't seen it yet, go back and watch the video on what it actually takes to be a property developer, the core expertise question. Honestly, marketing and sales strategy is one of the disciplines I talk about there, and this video is basically the deep dive on one slice of that. I'll pop the link on the screen, but for now, let's get into it. Before we get into the video, I just wanted to ask, do you have a property funding requirement or a property funding problem that needs a solution? If so, reach out to me at Merry Oaks Property Finance. Merry Oaks Property Finance is a brokerage that I set up in 2021 to support SME property investors and developers like myself, like you, with all of your funding requirements. So if it's development, bridging, commercial, anything property finance related, the more complex, the better as well, because we're very used to those types of things. If you're a portfolio landlord, whatever you might need, let us know. Reach out to us. Let's have a conversation and see where we go. Now back to the episode. I really hope you enjoy it. So should you build a microsite, and when does it actually work? And critically, what does this mean for you as you present your numbers to a lender or a broker like us? The commission problem with real numbers. So let's start with why this conversation exists at all. Estate agent commission on a UK sale typically runs somewhere between 1% and 3.5% plus VAT, depending on whether you're a sole agency, joint sole agency, or a multi-agency deal. Sole agency, one agent, exclusive instruction tends to sit lower, around 1.5% to 1.8% plus VAT. And if you're working with Foxtons, good luck, because they're going to go straight in at 2.5% plus VAT. Whether that's worth it or not, I have my own opinion. Multi-agency is where you've got 2 or 3 agents competing to sell the same unit, and that pushes it comfortably towards 2.5% to 3.5% plus VAT. Now, run the numbers against a real scheme. 10 units selling at £400,000 each. That's 4 million of gross development value at 1.5% commission, and you're looking at £60,000 in fees before VAT. And add VAT at 20% and you're closer to £72,000. On a multi-agency instruction at 3%, you could be north of £140,000 once VAT's included. Now that's not pocket change on a small scheme. That's a material line item. Yes, it's not the make or breaker of the deal in your appraisal, but it is important to take note. It's exactly the kind of number that gets developers thinking, hang on, what if we sell these ourselves? And there's a big philosophical thing about this all. I myself am a finance broker, and people do that to us as well, and they think they can go off and do it on their own, and it's never quite that easy. But let's get back to estate agents and microsites. So a few of the developers I know have been building these microsites, and for those who haven't come across the concept yet, it's a development microsite, which is a standalone website built for a single scheme. Not your company website, it's a dedicated site just for that development. That's all. Think of it as a digital show home. The good ones tend to have a handful of things in common, such as an interactive site plan, a clickable layout showing which plots are available, reserved or sold, and it's all updating in real time, a proper media hub, 3D CGI walkthroughs, drone footage of the site and surrounding area, a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, you can have a downloadable floor plan as well, a local guide built into the site, walking distance to schools and transport links, amenities, and a direct booking tool so a buyer can contact you and book themselves in for a viewing without having to wait for an agent to call them back. All of this can be on there. It can be really, really simple, or it can have all the bells and whistles as I've just mentioned. So I've seen 3 broad approaches developers are taking with this. The first is with what I call the single domain showcase. You register a project specific domain, something like the merryoakscollection.co.uk, and build a slick mobile first single page site that sells the lifestyle first. You drive traffic to it with hyperlocal Facebook and Instagram ads rather than paying multiple agents to compete for the listing. I mean, this costs you upfront money, which is not normally what you pay an estate agent. So you have to be prepared for that sort of stuff. And these are things you have to pay up front, which is what you don't have to do if you go down an estate agent. They normally do this stuff for you. We'll get into all of that in a moment. Because the reality is these things can be built for genuinely modest money now. A few £100s using modern site builders, sometimes with AI tools doing a fair chunk of the heavy lifting. It's just easier than it ever used to be. The second is the early phase pre-launch microsites. This one I actually really like. You launch the site during groundworks well before a high street agent would normally start marketing. The call to action is simply register for early access. Clever. You're using speculative CGIs and floor plans to capture serious buyers early before the show home even exists. I mean, if you do this well, this done well, developers are getting a meaningful chunk of plots reserved before the roofs are even on the development, which does wonders for the cash flow and gives your lender real comfort on the sales velocity, and you just peace of mind. You can sleep well at night. The third is the portal-backed hybrid using a regional property portal's own microsite tooling, paying a fixed monthly fee rather than a percentage commission, but still benefiting from that portal's existing traffic. You lose a bit of the own everything appeal of the first two models, but you get distribution that you haven't had to build all on your own. So what about traffic without an agent's shop front or existing call list? I mean, look, if you're going direct, you're obviously going to lose the agent's high street window and their existing buyer database. So you need to replace that somehow. The tools people are using are Facebook and Instagram ads geo-targeted around the site, short vertical video content on the build progress, which tends to do well organically as well. People like watching a site come together, whether they're going to buy it or not, especially if it's in your local area. QR codes on the hoarding, sending passers-by straight to the microsite, and local SEO work so you rank for searches like new build homes in your town. And what you're aiming for is Facebook ads, geo-targeted, 10-mile radius, clicks and inquiries, Instagram reels, construction updates, organic reach, QR codes, and hey presto, you've got traffic. I'll flag it now. Some of the specific performance numbers floating around online for these campaigns, click-through rates and so on, vary wildly by area, price point, and creative quality. Honestly, you've got to be careful about what you're looking at, comparing apples with apples and not apples with oranges. So treat any single stat you see quoted as a starting benchmark to test against, not as a guarantee. Just take it as a benchmark and then probably take the average, especially if it's localized. If it's somewhere, you're comparing London to somewhere like Middlesbrough, Blackpool, or Bolton, it's just different. So where does this genuinely work and where it doesn't quite fit? And here's where I want to be the balanced voice in the room, because a lot of what's out there on this topic is written or spoken about to sell you a website builder and not to actually help you sell your units, because that is the most important thing, the exit in mind. Microsites tend to work well when you've got a scheme with a strong visual identity, new build, brand new conversions, a decent unit count as well. You're talking like 5, 10, 20 units plus. Something that photographs and films well, something that's Instagrammable. They work when you or someone on your team actually has the bandwidth and a bit of marketing capability to run the ads and respond to leads quickly. Because a lead that sits unanswered for 6 hours on a Saturday is a lead that's gone cold or gone to a competitor listing. Simple as that. And these microsites, they really work well, particularly well in that early pre-launch phase when you're trying to build momentum and de-risk the scheme before completion. Where I'd pump the brakes is anywhere your buyer is more likely to want a human relationship before they commit. And that includes a huge chunk of the downsizer market. I've talked about before, people moving later in life who often want to walk around with a person, ask questions face to face, have a touch and a feel. They trust a local name they recognize. If you caught the video on Andy Burnham's stamp duty proposals, you'll know I've got strong views on how the market treats genuine downsizers. And it's exactly that audience where a pure digital funnel, no agent, no phone call can lose you a sale that a warm conversation would have easily closed. Before we continue, a quick word from our sponsors, Merry Oaks Property Finance. Merry Oaks Property Finance is my finance brokerage, and I've been in property for 25 years. I started Merry Oaks Property Finance in 2021, and we support investors and developers just like you, just like me, across the country with all of their funding requirements. So if it's bridging finance, development finance, commercial, buy-to-let, multi-unit freehold blocks, VAT bridging, HMOs, hotels, industrial, the whole 9 yards, we can support you with that. please reach out if you have a funding requirement, you need support with it, you want to speak to one of our experts, you want to speak to me directly, please reach out, let us know, and I look forward to speaking with you soon. Now, back to the video. So where doesn't it work quite as well? I mean, when you think about complex chain sales, when you think about distressed timelines, where you need a sale really, really fast, and markets where like local knowledge genuinely moves the price, those are all situations where an experienced local agent still earns their fee. I'm an estate agent. I believe in estate agents. No matter how the market moves, I believe a good estate agent is well worth their weight in gold. And honestly, on higher value schemes, the ones closer to the £1 million plus territory, or even higher than that in some areas of London, where a lot of our clients at Merry Oaks operate, buyers at that level often still expect and frankly appreciate an agent managing the process, even if you're running a microsite alongside everything else that they're doing to control your own data and branding, and it like supplementary, it supports what they're doing. I think that, yeah, a local agent is still massively valuable. So if you've got like a 5 or 10 unit scheme and the unit's like £500,000, they're flats or houses, or they are like £500,000 to just under £1 million, I think that these microsites really work. And I've got evidence to suggest that they do. You know, these developers are selling units before their agents are getting around to it, and they're saving themselves a fortune in the process. So my honest position, and I'll say this plainly because I think it's more useful than a blanket ditch the agent headline, you know, clickbait headline. Build the microsite regardless. Like, do it. I don't say don't do it. Own your leads, own your data, own your branding. That's all good. And that part is close to free as it's ever been before. But be deliberate about whether you're using it to replace an agent entirely or to reduce your reliance on multi-agency marketing down to a single, cheaper sole agency instruction working alongside your own direct channel. For a lot of the schemes I see, that hybrid is where the real saving really hits home. You're not paying 2 or 3 agents to compete at really high fee, and it also always like reeks of desperation when you do that. You're paying one at a lower rate, and your microsite is doing a chunk of the top of the funnel work for free. And here's the bit that nobody's talking about, what this does for your finance. And this is where I want to bring this back to what we actually do at Merry Oaks, because this is the part that gets missed in every one of those cut out the agent posts online or conversations in these property groups. When we're structuring finance for a development, the sales and marketing cost line in your appraisal isn't just decoration, it's something a lender will interrogate. Some people always put their sales fees at 1% plus VAT. They miss out the plus VAT bit as well. And then they don't have anything for furnishing. They don't have anything for photographs. They don't have anything for hoarding. And it just gets scrutinized. So if you strip your marketing budget down to almost nothing on the assumption that a microsite and some Facebook ads will do all the work, and your lender's underwriter has seen dozens of schemes where that assumption didn't quite work or didn't hold, you can actually damage your credibility on the application rather than helping it. Lenders like realistic numbers, worst case scenario numbers in most cases. A sensible marketing allowance, even a reduced one reflecting a hybrid model, tends to land better than a number that looks like it's just been zeroed out to flatter the appraisal, and it's a little bit like hopeful and probably it comes across a bit naive. But the upside is, you know, like save commission does give you, done properly, like £60,000, £80,000 savings in agency fees. I mean, that is not to be scoffed at. Yes, it is more work. Yes, there will be some costs associated with that. But to be fair, you just can't ignore it in today's market. You know, with the way that things are going online, you have to be able to have this as a developer. If you're in that 1 to 30 million range, which is what we mostly deal with, you have to have this in your arsenal because that's real money. Like, you know, funding a proper CGI package, a decent ad budget, a CRM system that actually chases leads instead of letting them go cold. Reinvesting even a portion of that saving into your own sales funnel tends to improve your net GDV more reliably than simply pocketing the difference and hoping the site sells itself. And there is a second quieter benefit. If your microsite is genuinely capturing early reservations during groundwork, that pre-launch model I mentioned, that's evidence of sales velocity you can put in front of a lender before a single unit is even finished. Strong pre-sales evidence, even informal reservations, can materially help a facility conversation, particularly on mezzanine or higher leverage structures where the lender is trying to get comfortable with the exit risk, especially if you've had difficulties along the way, build costs have gone up, and you need to claw more money into the deal. Having that kind of foresight of being able to show that you are being proactive on the exit, honestly, it makes a big difference. And look, I remember as well, this is not a substitute for exchange contracts, but it's a good signal if you get interest or if you get reservations, whether it's the security package conversation around personal guarantees or the event condensed video where I talked about where developers actually go to find deals and lenders, it all comes back to the same idea. The numbers on the page only tell half the story. How you got there and how defensible your assumptions are tells the other half. It's really, really important. I mean, God, I tell everybody that I started my career 25 years ago as an estate agent. And I know exactly how that commission gets earned. The viewings on a Saturday, the viewings on a Sunday, the constant chasing, the negotiating with the buyer, like negotiating an extra $5,000 or negotiating like a furniture pack. It's real hard work, and a good agent at the right price is worth every penny of it. Please don't get me wrong about any of that. What I don't love is developers paying for multi-agency rates out of a habit of just like saying, I need more exposure, or going to certain types of agencies that just charge crazy, even sole agency rates. It's just unnecessary. And now there's this whole new wave, the smarter hybrid structure, which would leave more money in the scheme and a better return in their pocket. That's the nuance I want you walking away with today. Not agents are dead, but know exactly what you're paying for and make sure your lender can see the logic behind it too when you're doing your appraisals, etc. So just to bring it all together, build the microsite. It's cheap and it's good practice regardless of what else you do. Be honest with yourself about whether your buyer profile and scheme type actually suit going fully direct. So I'm saying build it, but make sure that you're building it for the right type of product that you're building. Because if not, then maybe a single agency plus microsite hybrid gets you the best of both worlds, or maybe actually just go with the high street agent that knows the local market, knows your demographic that you're after, and whatever you do, and make sure that you've got the right exit plan in place. But whatever you do not just delete it from your appraisal and tell the lenders, tell your investors that this is no longer a cost that's required. Always have that contingency in place because the agents are still valuable. It's little things like this that lenders look at and they go, if they got this wrong or they made this assumption, it's a little bit naive. What else could they be getting wrong? It doesn't set a good look. But if you position it in the right way and say, hey, we've got this going on as well, completely flips it on the other side. And they're like, wow, this is really, really proactive, forward thinking. We love it. And of course, if you're working through the finance side of things, whether it's the initial facility, whether it's a part-built scheme halfway through, or you need a mezzanine facility to top up, or you want to even talk about stronger sales and marketing strategy, which is something I'm very familiar with, and we want to improve your finance terms or speak to the agents, these are conversations we have every day at Merry Oaks. So head to merryoaks.com and get in touch. We deal with schemes from 1 million to 30 million, and we're always happy to talk through the numbers with you. No obligation. Reach out to us. We'll jump on a video call and talk it through. But you know what? If you're enjoying this video, let me know in the comments, have you built a microsite for a development, or are you still going through a traditional agent? I'd love to hear what's actually worked for you on the ground, because that's more useful for everybody else that's watching this as well, rather than just guessing from behind the desk. If you've enjoyed this video, please make sure you subscribe, make sure you share, make sure you hit the like button, and I'll see you on the next one.